Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your Election Day forecast, so I'll get right to it. We are in the midst of the driest autumn we've ever had. We've only picked up 1.5 inches of rain. The second place currently was 1892 with 2.05 inches of rain. Then 1914 gave us 2.73 to date. So we're well ahead of any of the competitors. And honestly, it's a record we don't want. We don't want that. We could use some rain out there. I don't see rain in the forecast at all. Watch this. There's going to be a front that will come through Wednesday, but I don't see too much of it. I know this looks sort of like, hey, little action with some rain, but watch how the high pressure erodes most of it. There is a chance. All right, here you are Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but not too much. And then you're going to get into Saturday. Saturday looks great. Sunday, later Sunday into Monday. A little remnant rain from Raphael pushes toward the area, but again, we get some rain, just not a whole lot. And here's how everything comes together. European is suggesting nothing over 7 days, nothing measurable. The GFS is saying 0.3 of an inch. Trust me, you need a good 6 inches of rain to sort of at least get close to where we should be. Across the board, 77 for tomorrow. The record for Wednesday is 75, so I think we could be setting a record out there. Thursday, you are 69 degrees. Now remember, Wednesday night into Thursday could be a couple of raindrops. 69 Thursday, 65 on Friday with the sunshine. Saturday, 61. Late Sunday into Monday, could be a little chance for some rain. And that's it for me, everyone. Have a good night.
Welcome back, everyone, to our election coverage streaming on CBS News New York. America Decides, election night in New York. I'm Christine Johnson. Now, we're not just following the big races here tonight. We're also following the issues on the ballot that matter to New Yorkers. And none have been more discussed than Proposition 1. It's also known as the Equal Rights Act. The amendment aims to make abortion rights part of the state constitution and will add new protected classes. We have a look now at the results coming in from voters. We can see here with 48% of the vote in, 68.3% saying yes, 31.7% saying no. Let's discuss this, friends. I mean, Go ahead, Marcia.
Well, Christine, this is a huge victory for Governor
Hochul.
But the reason is because they also thought that it would get women to the polls. But because it was such a big issue, the Republicans absolutely tried to trash it all through the state. They attacked it because they said it would open up all kinds of issues, from Asian people went to press conferences saying that it would keep their students from going to specialized schools. There was questions about whether boys could play on girls' sports teams. They raised all manner of things, saying that this was too wide, and they tried to stop it. But you can see from the numbers that it didn't happen, and that women voted, women went to the polls, and they decided that enshrining abortion rights after Roe v. Wade was struck down by the Supreme Court was an important thing for New York and the New York State
But nowhere does it say abortion in that proposition,
it does not.
does it?
It does not. It says anti-discrimination,
Yes.
but it's a very important thing to do given what happened with the Supreme Court.
But does that open it up to legal challenges?
It does for a number of things, but let's look at something else here. What did Harris get in New York State? 61. What's the proposal get? 62. That's what this is. This was a great move by Democrats to get it on the ballot and to drive vote out, and it mirrors the Harris turnout, amazingly
That's
so.
why the Republicans worked so hard to defeat it.
Well, as an independent centrist, I got to repeat this. Hold up, give me a second. I think if you read Proposition 1, it does not mention abortion. Abortion was already codified into law in New York. This opens up a can of worms, especially for counties that were against having trans women competing against, or trans kids competing against biological women and in sports. That's what this was really about, and I think that's why Republicans were coming out hardcore against it. You saw many Republicans who understand the dangers of going up against abortion say this is dangerous because it's going to open up our sports to biological boys to come play against biological girls for scholarships, and this was a driving issue. I don't know whether or not many of the voters knew exactly because they were told there was abortion, but it doesn't mention abortion.
But at the end of the day, this became a Democrat-Republican vote. It mirrors the presidential vote, I think, statewide we're talking about. And the real winners on this one are lawyers, because they're the ones that are going to be out there right now fighting this on both sides of the aisle.
Well, that was my next question.
But,
Where does
you're a
this
lawyer.
end up?
Yeah, I am. But another thing you should know is this. In Nassau County, County Executive Bruce Blakeman wanted to stop transgender women from competing against transgender men.
And that's why he
that's
opposed Proposition 1.
And I think this amendment is going to put that right into bed, because there's how do you
JC, it's going to the Supreme Court. They've already said that. I mean, Nassau County, it wasn't just Blakeman. The Nassau County Board, the county board, passed the law itself. And Bruce wants it as well.
Being challenged.
That's being challenged.
That goes to the Supreme Court. We know what that's going to happen.
And in the Supreme Court, it doesn't stand a good chance given the makeup of the Supreme Court.
What doesn't stand a good chance? Bruce Blakeman's law or Prop 1?
Bruce Blakeman's law stands a good chance. Proposition 1, not so much.
That could very well be. It's a states' rights question versus Supreme Court.
Is the governor breathing a huge sigh of relief in regard to this proposition tonight, Marcia?
It's a partial sigh of relief, because she also has to worry about whether she can flip some of the House seats and help Hakeem Jeffries become the House Speaker and the first black House Speaker in the history of the Congress.
And 2 years ago, Marcia, remember, she got a lot of flack for not doing enough, and the state party and Jay Jacobs didn't get enough credit for what fights they were out there fighting at the time. They stepped up this time, and I think this Prop 1 for her is the first victory of the night.
All right. Interesting talk there. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this more, and we're going to be doing stories on this for even longer, Marcia. Let's go to Dick Brennan and Jessica Moore. They're in our virtual studio to discuss New York's all-important 18th Congressional District. Jessica, I know that you recently spoke to both of the candidates in this race. How are they feeling heading into tonight?
Well, Christine, both seemed hopeful. The race for District 18 represents parts of Orange, Dutchess, and Ulster counties.
And Democrats are hoping to keep the House seat currently held by Congressman Pat Ryan, who's facing off with Republican Allison Esposito. And while Ryan is very much in the lead, CBS News has not yet projected a winner in the race.
Esposito is a conservative former New York City police officer. Congressman Ryan is an Iraqi war veteran. I spoke with both of the candidates last week, asking them to present their closing arguments to voters. Here's what they had to say.
Freedom is on the ballot right now in this country. And I always say, if you want to piss off the American people, take away their freedom. And we are, and our campaign is centered on protecting and bolstering reproductive freedom, economic freedom, and lowering costs. freedom to breathe clean air and have clean water, freedom from gun violence, the fentanyl epidemic.
If you care about freedom of speech, if you care about freedom of religion, if you care about being able to decide what's best for your business, your child, your family, if you care about public safety, law and order, if you care about national security and a secure border, I'm your fighter. I am one of you. And I want a safe, prosperous Hudson Valley where our people are protected.
So, Dick, you heard both of them talking about sort of running on this campaign of freedom. Freedom just means different things to each candidate. Pat Ryan focusing on reproductive freedom. Esposito talking about sort of the freedom to feel safe in your own community.
All right. Right now, we didn't show you the numbers, but we can tell you that, well, now we see the numbers. 59 to
40. Let me
there
move
you
my
go.
head.
Good move. Good move. With 54% of the vote in. Let's bring in Larry Levy of Hofstra University. Larry, those numbers certainly look promising for Pat Ryan to win his rematch.
Yeah, at this point tonight, I'd rather be Pat Ryan than Esposito.
I think that's safe.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting about all these races, and this one epitomizes it, every candidate running in these swing suburban areas are trying to move to the middle, being perceived as reasonable. Suburbanites, they kind of shy away from extremism of any stripe. Ryan has done a better job of that. Ryan has had so much more money to define Esposito as a radical, which she probably is not. Esposito tried to do the same thing to Ryan. He had a record in Congress. He was a soldier. It was just impossible for her to do, given who he was and how much money she had, to try to distort his record.
He also spoke out against the Biden administration's handling of the immigration situation. The thing that I find interesting, when I interviewed her, she said, look, you know, she obviously was Lee Zeldin's running mate in 2022. She said, if I was running that same campaign today, we would have won by, you know, a long shot. Maybe wishful thinking, but her point was that voters have sort of changed. I think these numbers show they haven't changed that much, right?
Not in that district.
Right.
I think that voters like reasonable people who walk the talk. In some of the races we've seen, candidates flip from being progressive to trying to be perceived as moderate, to being against the Israeli war, and then suddenly they're for Israel role in that.
But what
Ryan kind of exudes authenticity.
But what does this mean? I mean, are we looking at, you know, I think if we're all these races put together, we don't have them all in now.
Right.
But the last time we said it could be a red wave, or is it a one-off? We really don't have the answer to that question yet, do we?
Well, it looks like the Democrats are going to retain
at
a few seats.
One, and then perhaps pick up one
right.
so far.
The 4th district right now looks like it's trending towards
Gillen,
Laura Gillen taking it from Anthony D'Esposito. Lolota looks like he's wrapped it up in the 1st district against John Avalon. Mondaire Jones, that was already leaning Republican before the first votes were cast. It's going to come down to whether the Democrats have a better night than a worse night up in the 22nd district, which is Syracuse, and a lot of suburban areas outside it that are very much like Long Island and Hudson Valley.
What's going to happen in the House? All crucial.
It's coming down. And you know, we've been saying, and I think fairly with a straight face, that control of Congress ran through New York and California. Well, it may run through Virginia and North Carolina and a couple of other races around the country.
All right. Well, Larry Levy of Hofstra University, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Jessica, Dick, thank you for that. Let's take a look at our Electoral College map. At last check, we did hear that CBS News is leaning that Utah and Mississippi will go to former President Donald Trump. So the states there that you see in red are the ones that have been declared for Trump. The ones that you see there in blue are the ones that have been declared for Harris. The states that you see there in white are where the polls have closed, but the votes are still being counted. And then the ones that you see there in gray, polls are still open in those states. Let's move back here to New York. We're going to focus on District 1 as first-term Republican Nick LaLota looks to defend an advance from Democrat John Avalon. Here are the results that we can give you at this hour, which are 0% of the votes that are in right now. What's happening? Why are we going to
Suffolk County Board, there's one county with the results. Suffolk County is notoriously slow. So is Nassau County, but Nassau County's getting some numbers in there.
All right.
New York City gets the results in quickly. Nassau and Suffolk County are very methodical. in the way that they operate and get things done, to make sure it's all done above board.
Usually one of the last counties to
Okay, so as we wait for some of those numbers to come in, let's spend some time at the candidates' watch parties. Let's head out east there on the LIE. That's where we find Jennifer McLogan live in Patchogue. And Jennifer, Suffolk GOP, just watching from where you are tonight.
Yes, Christine, this is the official watch party for the Suffolk GOP Republicans here in Patchogue. All the big hitters are arriving. We just interviewed County Chairman Jesse Garcia, Ed Romaine, the Republican County Executive. They are feeling very good about the returns that they say they are seeing. So we expect the Republican incumbent of the one term, Nick LaLota, to take the stage within the next 30 minutes. This congressional district, as we spoke to you earlier, is enormous geographically. We go from the East End, the farmers and the fishermen, west through the towns of suburbia into Brookhaven and Huntington. We've had a whole host of independent voters in both areas. We did some polling of people walking out today. They said the big issues to them are abortion, climate change, gun control. Of course, these are issues that the Democrats have pounced on. But right now, the mood right here is upbeat for a repeat. Christine.
All right, Jennifer, thank you for that update. So let's go now to the watch party for John Avlon. He's looking to flip that seat in New York's 1st Congressional District. The balance of power in Congress, one of those races that we're watching. Ali Bauman, once again in Holtsville, and she spoke to the Democratic candidate just moments ago. Ali, what's the mood?
That's right, Christine. I spoke to John Avlon a few minutes ago. He said he's feeling optimistic while waiting for the results to come in. Now, throughout the campaign, he says his strategy has been trying to appeal to independent voters, moderate Republicans in this purple district. His messaging has been common sense for Suffolk County. Now, Avlon, a former journalist who most recently was working as a political analyst for CNN before joining the race. He's been campaigning on rebuilding the middle class, restoring SALT, that's the state and local tax deduction, protecting abortion access, and immigration reform. The campaign here says they've been, now when I talked to Avlon just a few minutes ago, I asked him what his day one goals are if elected.
Local tax deduction, that's number one. Rebuilding the middle of the economy requires rebuilding the middle class. State and local tax deduction that the Republicans took away, we're going to bring it back. That's one of the many stakes of this race. Getting the child tax credit, getting bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform, beginning with the bipartisan border security bill, and obviously defending reproductive freedom.
Now, Avlon has been endorsed by former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, and he's married to a Republican woman. The campaign here says they are anticipating a long and late night. That's the latest in Holtsville, Suffolk County. Christine, back to you.
We'll see you again soon, Ali. Thank you. CBS News is projecting Senator Kirsten Gillibrand has won re-election for her New York Senate seat. Let's go to Tim McNicholas. He's live at the Chelsea Hotel at the senator's election night victory party. Tim, what did she have to say?
Christine, Governor Hochul and Senator Gillibrand both got finished speaking here at Hotel Chelsea a little over a half hour ago. And I can tell you during those speeches, this was a small but packed room, and the Democrats in here were fired up. As CBS News, as you mentioned, is now projecting that Senator Gillibrand will win her race over Republican challenger Mike Sapercone. While she was expected to win that race, some of the parts of her speech that drew applause were actually about other races. She says she is confident Democrats will win in these tight congressional contests. And as the polls have showed Gillibrand with a commanding lead over the past couple months, she has actually poured time and resources into some of those House races. She also spoke to us after the speech about what she hopes to work on in her next term.
I want to do the national paid leave bill, as I mentioned. We still need to work on the care economy. It was the one piece that was left off of the last Congress. I'd like to continue to work on my cybersecurity issues. We still have the farm bill outstanding. We're hoping to do it actually in the next month before the new Congress. How about the border bill? The border bill is the easiest, most bipartisan thing. The Senate is already teed up. And if we have the House, they will have a vote on it immediately.
And when Governor Hochul spoke, she actually praised Senator Gillibrand for her work on those other campaigns. The Democrats do not want a repeat of 2022. That is for sure, Christine.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Will Gillibrand saying that she's feeling confident about these congressional races in New York. But let's go to Tony Aiello. He is covering Congressional District 17, a closely watched race. He's with the Lawler campaign in Rockland County in New City. And Tony, I have a feeling that that campaign would disagree with Senator Gillibrand there.
Well, this race in New York 17 was definitely seen as key to helping the Republicans control the House of Congress, the House of Representatives in Congress. Apparently, a couple of Republicans are going to go down in New York, but it doesn't look like Mike Lawler is going to be one of them. They're very upbeat here tonight. They like the numbers which have come in. They had a tremendous get-out-the-vote effort. They're seeing 80% turnout in some of the precincts that they targeted, so they're very pleased about that. This race saw such unbelievable off-the-charts spending, $40 million funding thousands of attack ads, many of them trying to paint Mike Lawler as a threat to abortion rights, a MAGA extremist. He fought back. He said he's got a bipartisan reputation. He pointed to cooperation that he's done with Josh Gottheimer in New Jersey. Those ads dominated the airwaves in New York City, and I asked Congressman Lawler about their impact.
This didn't just happen in a vacuum or in the last 2 weeks of the campaign. This has been 2 years worth of work representing this district, doing the job that I was elected to do in 2022. And that's why ultimately voters are going to reward us tonight with a big win.
Mike Lawler, even Democrats will concede, works the district really, really hard. He did more than 1,000 community events in his first 2 years in office. They're confident that he's going to be going back to Washington for another term. Will he be going back in the minority or in the majority? That is to be decided. We expect to see Mike Lawler out here closer to 11 o'clock. His campaign likes the numbers. They believe they're going to pull this one out tonight, Christine.
Okay, Tony, thank you. We'll get to you when that happens. Now the race for New York's 19th congressional district between incumbent Republican Mark Molinaro and Democrat Josh Riley. This district is huge, covering all of part of 11 counties upstate. Now this is a rematch from 2022 and has become one of the most expensive races in the country with this cycle. 54% of the vote coming in here, 56.2 going to Josh Riley. The Democrat, Mark Molinaro, bringing in 43.8% of the vote. Once again, this is 54% of the vote in. Now moving on to New York's Congressional District 3. Tom Suozzi bringing in 53.4%. Mike LaPetrie, 46.6%. Suozzi held this seat for 6 years. He did unsuccessfully run for governor in 2022 and then replaced George Santos. Suozzi did regain this seat in a special election back in February, and he seems to be leading this race so far with 52% of the vote in. Moving on to District 14, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez up against Tina Forte. AOC there bringing in 68.7%, and CBS News projecting that she is the winner with 76% of the vote in there for District 14. Moving on now to New Jersey, Congressional District 7, 51.1% going to Tom Kean Jr. with 76% of the vote in. His Democratic opponent there running for Sue Altman, 47.1%. New Jersey's Congressional District 9, Nellie Poe against Republican Billy Prempeh. Nellie Poe bringing in 52.4% of that vote with 43% of the vote in. These two vying to replace the late Congressman Bill Pascrell, a native of Paterson, New Jersey there. And then let's move on to New Jersey's 8th Congressional District. 71% of the vote coming in here with Rob Menendez, the incumbent, the projected winner here by CBS News with 59.2%. Anthony Valdez, 34.6%. We really do like this virtual studio that we've been able to incorporate into our coverage here tonight. Jessica Moore and Dick Brennan standing by with more on these House seats that are up for grabs.
They like us. They really like us.
They really like us.
Yes.
We fit in.
Yes. Anyway, Christine, all 435 House seats are up for grabs in this re-election, of course.
Yeah, let's take you right to D.C., where the fight for the balance of power is underway tonight. Republicans currently have majority control of the House. 435 seats up for grabs in this election. Democrats need to net 4 to flip control of the House. And let's look at the little people coming in.
The little people
coming in.
Well, okay.
Oh, we're going to the Senate now. All right, let's see the senators coming in.
The bigger people, I guess. They get 6 years. 34 seats are up for grabs.
There you go. Look at them coming in. They're ready to get to work for the people.
It's the race for the people. The Democrats, of course, currently have a 51-49 majority. Things could change. It's going to be like this close.
Yeah, Republicans need 2 or even just 1, right? You remember in 2020, Kamala Harris was that deciding vote.
Well, that's it. And that's the key.
Senate.
It depends on who the president is, too, because if it's 50-50, the vice president can have that deciding vote.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A lot of races. And as Larry Levy told us earlier, control of Congress runs through New York State, right? Yeah. I mean, there are 7 congressional elections right now that could really flip the whole thing for the House.
And then also, in addition to New York, there's California, and that's going to take even longer because California is notoriously slow. But we have these races in New York, and the question is, could it make a virtual difference for the numbers that we have right now, which is only 220 to 212. So if you flip a few, some go Republican, some go Democrat, but that's not clear just which way it's going just now.
They just need to net 4. And as we saw from, if you read the tea leaves, so to speak, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was in District 18 campaigning with Pat Ryan as recently as yesterday, sort of wanting to, hitch his horse to a winning wagon, right? So you never know. I mean, I think he thinks that Pat Ryan will maintain that seat.
Yeah,
and it could be one of the seats that helps maintain control or flip the House.
Okay, so a lot hanging in the balance. We're keeping all an eye on you from here in our virtual studio. We'll have much more for you tonight at 11. Christine.
Thank you. Let's take another look at this Electoral College map because we're getting some more projections in to CBS News. We're hearing Kamala Harris has now won Colorado. President Trump, meantime, wins Montana. And CBS News is now projecting Donald Trump to win Ohio as well. And as we continue to leave this map up here, you can see all of the red states that have now gone to the former president, all of the blue states that have gone now to the vice president. And if I can see here, we're still waiting on Georgia. We're still waiting on North Carolina. We're still waiting on Pennsylvania, Wisconsin and Michigan, some of those swing states. So let's discuss. We've got a few minutes here. What are your thoughts, JC?
Wow. This election is a lot closer than I was thinking it was going to be. And I'm looking at these numbers, and I know I'm getting a lot of texts as I'm sitting here with you from Democrats that are watching, and they're concerned about what they're seeing across the country. They thought they were going to be in much more comfortable margins, and not at all what they expected. Not at all.
What are you saying?
It's going to be a late night. We know that. I think it's going to be much better than it was 4 years ago. We're not going to go for days at this point. But I'm also what we're seeing now, too, is it's a question of where the votes are coming from. Because you can see screens turn from light blue to light red, and either one, you mix back and forth. In a matter of minutes here, I've seen Virginia go from pink to light blue, and I've seen Michigan go light blue and all. So it's back and forth all night long.
Marcia, 10 seconds.
I think that we have to really wait and see. I'm going to go out on a limb on that.
Thank you so much for joining us for our special election coverage streaming on CBS News New York. For everyone, I'm Christine Johnson, and we'll turn now to our live national coverage here on the stream.
This week, 4 families shattered.
There's no physical evidence.
The mystery would haunt investigators for years.
There's some questions that have to be asked and need to be answered.
Like a John Grisham novel.
A gripping true crime original. 48 Hours, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
Sunday morning, actor Kirsten Dunst, plus Wayne Brady on Broadway, and a beloved cherry tree named Stumpy.
I'm Lindsay Reiser at the CBS Broadcast Center in New York with coverage of CBS News America Decides. From coast to coast, in big cities and small towns, millions of Americans cast their ballots for the nation's highest office. Bomb threats did disrupt some polling, including at several locations in Georgia. CBS's Nicole Skanga joins us with more. Nicole, what do we know about the origin of those bomb threats?
Yeah, Lindsay, polling places in about half a dozen states were disrupted and targeted by these bomb threats. As you mentioned, Georgia there among the handful of states, all pretty much battleground states here, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Of course, in those cases where there were any delays, there were voting hours that were extended. And these are isolated cases in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, as well as in Arizona. Now, as to what we know about where these bomb threats are coming from, secretaries of state in Georgia and in Arizona have alluded to the fact that there seems to be some sort of link to Russia or Russian bad actors. Here's what we know. There is an important caveat on that. The FBI has only said that some of the threats came from Russian email domains. That means that the actors behind them aren't necessarily from Russia. You or I could sign up for a Russian email domain, and cybersecurity officials and law enforcement officials I've been speaking to tonight say they're combing through some of these threats. They're determining patterns, similarities, but it might take days or even weeks to really attribute and pinpoint exactly where these threats are coming from. But again, the big good headline here, Lindsay, no material effect on the outcome of the U.S. election here.
And Nicole, quickly, the FBI is warning about some misinformation videos using their logo.
That's exactly right. The FBI putting out a warning about 3 videos that claim to use the FBI insignia, name and likeness. They're spreading false claims about alleged voter fraud, violence at polling stations. And by the way, Lindsay, according to CBS News exit polls, 70% of voters are concerned with violence after Election Day. And we should just note, speaking with law enforcement officials today, they say so far the coast is pretty clear, but they're looking ahead to next week. I was at the D.C. Police Command Post earlier today, and that's a command post that's operating through Friday.
Okay, Nicole Skanga, thank you so much. Stay with us. You're watching America Decides.
Get answers in a tweet on Face the Nation. We try to separate the noise from the news. You need to be able to have an actual conversation.
Let's do it! Let's go! Let's do this! I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. Superstar approaching, superstar approaching.
Just get your popcorn and get ready.
Come on, Julia. Oh, no. I will if you will. You go, gal. Yeah, boy! Yeah.
Dollar Jill.
If you can't get into the market, it's okay. Renting is fine.
Box, oh, it's bad. Screw cap, oh, it's bad. It's not true.
We are making a wonderful lemony chicken.
Ooh, it's hot. That's good.
I wonder what Serena's doing. I wonder how Serena is feeling.
That's a really good question. No one's asked me that yet.
You're 70 years old? 70, yeah.
I'm 21.
We'll see you 7 o'clock sharp.